Mark Carney, the Canadian Governor of the Bank of England, caused something of a stir in the House of Commons this week. He announced a House of Commons committee when asked about an independent Scottish currency. Of course, he said Scotland could be in a currency union with the rest of the UK after independence. Now, that caused a bit of consternation, particularly among unionist politicians. It was a news story. To be fair to Mark Carney, he'd actually said something the same at the start of 2014, but that's not the way it was then interpreted, and I wish he'd been a bit clearer. It certainly would have been of assistance to us when we were advocating that position in the independence referendum. But of course, what Mark Carney was saying was the absolute truth. What he could have gone on to say was there are many currency positions that a country can take, and a country should take the currency position which is most conducive to facilitating growth in its economy. Take, for example, Hong Kong, one of the most successful trading countries over the last couple of centuries. Back in the 19th century, Hong Kong had no currency. And then it was the currency of private trading houses like Jardine Matheson's. And then it went on to the silver standard. In fact, it was one of the last countries in the world. It was still in the silver standard in the 1930s. And then it went on to a link with sterling. And then during the war, it was on a link with the yen because the Japanese had invaded. Then after the war, it was on a crawling peg with sterling, then on a fixed link with sterling, the predominant currency of the time. And then it transferred to the dollar. When the dollar became the predominant currency and it was on a crawling peg, then it was a floating currency. Then it was fixed to the dollar where it remains, despite the fact that Hong Kong is part of China. So the point about Hong Kong is that you can use any number of currencies. You just pick the one that's most conducive to the time that you're operating in, as it is with Hong Kong. So as with European countries, look around Europe, you'll see successful countries with different currency arrangements. Denmark has a fixed link currency with the euro. It's an independent currency, but it fixes it to the rate of the euro. Sweden, in contrast, has its own floating currency. It finds its own level on international markets, despite the fact they're both successful small countries and both part of the European Union. Finland is fully integrated into the euro. You can do any of these things. You can use the currency of another country. For example, here's a Robert Burns, a Clydesdale Bank £10 note. Other bank currencies are available. This is a Scottish £10 note, but it's backed and linked with equivalent balances as soon as it goes over the counter at the Bank of England. So it is a sterling note. Although it's not legal tender, it's still a very acceptable means of exchange. Any and all of these things are possible. It was Mervyn King, that's Mark Carney's predecessor at the Bank of England as governor, who a year or two back said, of course, Scotland could just use sterling if it wanted to. Nobody can stop Scotland using sterling. It can, if it wishes, use sterling as a currency if that's what it wants to do. But none of this is the magic ingredient of economic success. What matters to a country is productivity and trade. These are the things which govern the growth and success of an economy. Currently, these are being jeopardised. Our trading links are being jeopardised by the crazy Brexit policy. That's also leading in the UK to a collapse in international investment, which will be bad for the economy, as we saw in figures just this week. Productivity in the economy is being jeopardised by stopping highly productive people coming into Scotland and contributing to the wealth and growth of the country through the ridiculous immigration policies governed by the Westminster administration. So they are jeopardising productivity. They are jeopardising our trading links, the two things which are absolutely instrumental to growth and success. So the lesson for any country, and the reason that Scotland needs independence, is to secure these vital ingredients of economic success, of productivity and trade, and then choose whichever currency position best meets your requirements, is conducive to allowing the country to prosper and be successful.